Hello everyone. Today we discuss the current India-Nepal relations which are at crossroads with a background of history and analyze if China has got a chance. For several weeks, Indian soldiers have been engaged in a standoff with their Chinese counterparts along their disputed border in eastern Ladakh, even as New Delhi is busy planning a strategy to resolve a land dispute with another neighbor, Nepal. The current major misunderstanding between India and Nepal occurred when India's new map was released in November 2019, displaying Kala Pani as a part of the Indian state of Uttarakhand. Nepal citizens in retaliation protested in Kathmandu against the new map of India. The border dispute was further triggered on May 8, 2020, when a new 80-kilometer long road in the Himalayas connecting to the border with China was inaugurated at the Lipu Lake Pass by India's Defence Minister Rajnath Singh virtually over a video conference. Lipu Lake is a Himalayan pass situated on the border region between Uttarakhand state of India and the Tibetan Autonomous Region of China near their tri-junction with Nepal. The pass has been used since ancient times by traders, merchants and pilgrims travelling between India and China. The Indian government has inaugurated the new road in the Lipu Lake Pass for the benefit of pilgrims to reach Kailash and Mansarovar with ease, as there is no other proper means of road transport present for the pilgrims to reach Kailash. The new road is now the quickest link between Delhi and the Tibetan Plateau in China. The Nepal government, however, immediately disagreed with India's plan to lay the road, claiming that the new 80-kilometer road passes through their Kalapani territory and accused India of changing the status quo without diplomatic consultations. India has argued that the road is completely in its territory, but Nepal says at least 17 kilometers of the new road passes through Nepal territory, arguing that the road crosses over to the east bank of the Mahakali River. Among the many escalatory moves since then, Nepal deployed police forces to the region, summoned the Indian ambassador in Kathmandu, and initiated a constitutional amendment to formalize and extend its territorial claims over approximately 400 square kilometer area. India, on the other hand, has conveyed its openness to a dialogue but does not seem to share Nepal's sense of urgency. That is, its initial statement agreed to a dialogue but only after the COVID-19 crisis. To aggravate the dispute further, under pressure from the opposition, civil society and a vociferous Nepali press, the government of Prime Minister Khadga Prasad Sharma Oli issued a new political map of the country on 20th May 2020, showing Kalapani, Lipu Lake and Limpiadhura within its borders. Further, on 10 June and 18 June, the lower and the upper houses of the Nepali parliament respectively moved to approve the new map and revision of the national emblem, which includes the disputed territory in India's Uttarakhand state. India opposed the move, saying that the decision to include Limpiadhura, Lipu Lake and Kalapani is not based on evidence or historical facts. Thus, the two neighbors entered into a new paradigm of cartographic war as anger grew on both sides. On 19 June, Nepal started deploying its troops near the Kalapani and other disputed areas. Troops had established camps and they were working on building a helipad in the area. In the same month, Nepali Army Chief General Purnachandra Thapa, after visiting Kalapani border area, stated that Nepali Army will start building army barracks and border outposts near the Kalapani area. Thus, in June 2020, when India was already engaged in a violent standoff with China in eastern Ladakh, the first in 45 years, China's new ally Nepal too was starting to build pressure on India along the borders. India and Nepal have been sharing a friendly relationship ever since India declared national sovereignty in the year of 1950. During the very same year, the Indo-Nepal Treaty of Peace and Friendship was signed by both countries in their best interests. According to the treaty, both countries have agreed to a peaceful trade and are allowed to cross each other's territories without restrictions. The Indian government and the Rana rulers of Nepal stated that neither government shall tolerate any threat to the security of the other by a foreign aggressor. The treaty also granted Nepalis educational opportunities from India. In return, Nepal has provided business opportunities to Indians. According to the treaty, the Nepalis and Indians can move freely across the border without passports or visas and may live and work in either country. All these deals and agreements have created a strong friendly relationship between the two countries. Despite the diplomatic relationship between the two countries, the border dispute is speculated to have started a long time ago. India and Nepal share a 1800-kilometer border, of which Lippu Lake and Kalapani in India and Susta region in Nepal are the major regions disputed over between the two countries. The Treaty of Sugauli, signed by Nepal and British India on 3rd March 1816, locates the Kali River as Nepal's western boundary with India. The river borders the Nepalese district of Darchula in the Sudur Paschim Pradesh province and the Indian district of Pithoragarh in Uttarakhand state. Subsequent maps drawn by British surveyors show the source of the boundary river at different places. This discrepancy in locating the source of the river led to boundary disputes between India and Nepal. The Kali River runs through an area that includes the disputed area of about 400 km square around the source of the river, although the exact size of the disputed area varies from source to source. The heart of the dispute lies in differing cartographic interpretations about the headwaters of the Mahakali River. Nepal argues Limpiadhura is the location of the headwaters. However, India regards a smaller stream flowing down from Lippu Lake as the river's headwaters. Nepal claims that the river to the west of Kalapani as the main Kali River, hence the region belongs to Nepal, but India claims that the river to the west of Kalapani is not the main Kali River. Therefore, the border there should be based on the ridge lines of the mountains Om Parvat and not based on the flowing river. Though Kalapani has been controlled by India's Indo-Tibetan Border Police since the Sino-Indian War with China in 1962, Nepal government in 1997 considered a treaty on hydroelectric development in the Kali River, claiming that Kalapani province lies in Darchula district, Sudur Paschim Pradesh of Nepal, and the dispute aggravated. Both India and Nepal produce maps supporting their own claims, and the dispute is still continuing. The other disputed territory is the Susta territory, which is a rural municipal region in the Parsi district present in the southern side of Nepal and is near Nichlaul, Uttar Pradesh, India. The area under dispute totals over 140 km square and is being controlled by the Indian government as a part of the Bihar province. However, residents of a village in Susta state that it belongs to Nepal and they are Nepali citizens. The 1816 Treaty of Sugauli defined the Gandaki River as the international boundary between India and Nepal. The right bank of the river was under Nepal's control while the left was under India's control. Susta village was initially on the right side when the treaty was signed and it was a part of Nepal. However, over the years, the Gandaki River changed its course and the Susta moved to the left bank and is now currently under India's control. Government of Nepal has repeatedly stated that Susta belongs to Nepal and Indian government should return the area. As an initiative to demarcate the India-Nepal border, the Joint Technical Level Nepal-India Boundary Committee was set up in 1981 to explore and resolve the issue. And after years of surveying, deliberations and extensions, the committee had finally submitted the demarcating report in 2007 for ratification by both the countries. However, due to the difference in opinions about the origins of the Mahakali River in the Kalapani region and due to the changing course of the Gandaki River in the Susta region, the resolution over the disputes in these regions could not be arrived at. Hence, Nepal maintained that it cannot ratify the maps given by the survey team without the resolution of these regions in the Nepal map. India, on the other hand, awaited for Nepal's ratification. In the absence of ratification, the process of completely demarcating the India-Nepal boundary could not be undertaken and the border issue was not solved despite the formation of a survey team. As we have learned from the background, the dispute between India and Nepal has been lingering for years, but it has now flared in Nepal because Nepal's foreign policy has been recently becoming increasingly politicized due to democratization and competitive nationalism. India's new road up to the Lippu Lake Pass is not an unprecedented change in the status quo. India has controlled this territory since 60 years and built other infrastructures here before, besides conducting its administration and deploying military forces up to the border pass with China. The Indian road was not built overnight, and the Nepal government was surely aware and monitoring the situation in Kalapani over the preceding months and years. The issue had come up in November last year when India announced its new political map after the revocation of Article 370. As for many decades before, Indian map continued to include territories claimed by Nepal, but this time the government in Kathmandu took it up officially and publicly. It also became a popular issue in Nepal with the hashtag Back of India trending on social media. Nepal's Prime Minister Oli's government had been facing a severe internal political crisis since April, and the Indian announcement of the inauguration of the road came to him as a boon since it helped him gain support of opposition forces immediately for his escalatory moves against India, including the proposal of a constitutional amendment, and he could divert public attention from his failed ordinances and challenges to contain the pandemic. As far as the negative repercussions from Nepal is considered, India was well aware that the issue was prone to politicization in Nepal, but thought it would be able to manage Nepal and was caught by surprise by the gravity of the anti-India uproar in Kathmandu that Oli could gather. Further, India's implicit support for the 2015 blockade on the landlocked country had already resulted in anti-Indian sentiments running high in Nepal, which was further fueled by the new generation of Nepali politicians to influence the public emotions and win their votes. The 2015 Nepal blockade, which began on 23 September 2015 and went on for 4 months, was an economic and humanitarian crisis which severely affected Nepal and its economy. The blockade had immediately followed the passage of a new constitution by Nepal on 20 September 2015. For years following the peace deal with the Maoist party in 2006, Nepal only had an interim constitution. It was after 10 years of post-conflict transition and 2 constituent assembly elections that Nepal finally adopted a constitution in 2015. The Indian government, however, expressed its displeasure at Nepal's constitution, a position made clear in a series of statements issued by the Ministry of External Affairs in New Delhi. India's displeasure with this development had both symbolic and strategic dimensions. For one thing, India felt that it was not given due respect when Nepal finally reached its momentous decision. The stated reason for India's unhappiness, however, is that the Nepal's constitution denies the rights of the Nepalese Madheshis living on India's border, many of whom have close familial ties with Indians. A discontented Madhesh is of course an issue for India. After all, unrest in southern Nepal bordering India has the potential to destabilize the Indian side of the border. Nepal had accused India of imposing the undeclared blockade at the Raxaul-Birgunj bridge, which is a key crossing on the open border between India and Nepal, and the blockade halted oil and other essential supplies to the landlocked Nepal from India. India had denied the allegations, stating that the supply shortages were imposed by Madheshi protesters living in Nepal's Terai, the lowlands along India's border in the central and eastern plains. Madheshi protesters opposing the new constitution had continuously occupied this bridge, not permitting a single truck to pass. They claim that the new constitution perpetuates the discrimination they have long faced in the mountain country. Successive Nepalese governments, dominated by the upper caste from the hilly regions called Pahadis, discriminated against them, and these disparities are reflected in their economic, social and development conditions, which are well below average. However, many Nepalis believe that some of the Madheshis' demands are actually framed in terms of India's strategic interests. The demand for the creation of 2 states across Nepal-Terai is a case in point. If heeded, 2 Madheshi provinces will run all of 800 kilometers long but only 20 to 30 kilometers wide, forming a long strip on the southern plain of the country to India's benefit and Nepal's disadvantage. Particularly given the perception that India and the Madheshis have worked together to impose the blockade, many Nepalis believe that the establishment of 2 Terai provinces are a threat to Nepal's integrity. Furthermore, some Nepalis felt the crisis was ultimately an attempt to absorb Nepal into India in whole or in part, citing the case of Nepali-dominated Sikkim in 1975. And if that is not enough, there is another theory in Nepal, that is, under Modi and Hindu nationalist BJP, Nepal's majority Hindu population is an important vehicle through which to expand political clout. Modi himself and his party leaders have invoked religious narratives on several occasions to redefine the Nepal-India relationship. Yet, regardless of the country's overwhelming Hindu majority, Nepal's political parties have adopted secularism, clearly delinking the state from any particular religion. and this has offended the government of India. Furthermore, some critics have tied India's actions to political interest in the 2015 Bihar Legislative Assembly election. Justice Markandeya Kadju claimed that the blockade is directly connected with the Bihar Assembly elections. Likewise, General Ashok K. Mehta accused the Indian government of prioritizing an election victory in Bihar over Indian-Nepalese relations. Thus, when we analyze the reasons for the recent aggravation of India-Nepal border dispute in 2020, the first one we come across is the competitive domestic politics in Nepal. The second one is the already brewing anti-India sentiments in Nepal due to various reasons. The third one is the Nepal's foreign policy, which is changing drastically since it has embraced an ambitious and forward-looking agenda of external balancing and diversification in recent years, especially under the leadership of its Foreign Minister Pradeep Gyavali. His participation in the 4th Indian Ocean Conference held in the Maldives in 2019 reflects Kathmandu's widening geostrategic horizons, seeking to place Nepal as a critical connectivity hub between China, South Asia and the Indian Ocean region. Now, when we come to the possible involvement of China in the India-Nepal border dispute, India's Ministry of External Affairs statement recognized that there is a dispute between India and Nepal and that both parties would proceed as agreed to sort this out through a diplomatic dialogue. But India's Chief of Army Staff suggested that Nepal may be bringing up the issue at the behest of a third party, alluding to China. However, analysts feel it is unreasonable to blame China for creating the crisis, since the border dispute between India and Nepal has been brewing for many months and years. However, it could not be that simple, meaning we cannot conclude that China had not supported or further instigated Nepal to take on a more assertive position. Especially the India-China military standoff in Ladakh could have sent its shockwaves to already tense India-Nepal relations. China on Monday 27 July 2020 in a video conference urged Afghanistan, Nepal and Pakistan to forge four-party cooperation to overcome the COVID-19 crisis and continue work on projects under the Belt and Road Initiative, including the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. Statement from China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi indicated that Beijing is looking at a more permanent cooperation mechanism with the three South Asian countries than just working together to counter the pandemic. For Nepal, it was an opportunity to send out a message about its increasingly snug ties with China amid the strained relations with India. As we have discussed in earlier videos, under the guise of providing better trade, infrastructure, interconnectivity and economic development, China has wooed India's neighbors including Bangladesh, Myanmar, Maldives, Pakistan and recently signed an agreement with Iran when India's Chabahar-Zahedan rail project with Iran stands still. China uses these allies, which are India's neighbors, as proxies, especially when its relations with Delhi are tense, as in case of Bhutan, by claiming the Sakten Sanctuary region in eastern sector of Bhutan close to Tawang in India's Arunachal Pradesh. Nepal and several other Indian neighbors are young democracies developing new institutions in a political transition that can be unstable, as we see in Myanmar. In such a political scenario, the growing Beijing's authoritarian system and appeal may hinder further democratization, undermine the rule of law, or curtail critical media and academic independence of these countries. In the last week of April 2020, Nepal's ruling Nepal Communist Party suffered a serious internal rift as rival factions within the party threatened to unseat Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli, who had come into power in 2018 with a 5-year mandate. As the intra-party rift escalated, Chinese ambassador to Nepal Hu Yanqi held a series of meetings with top party leaders including Oli, Dahal, Nepal and Jhalanath Khanal. The rival factions have since then backtracked from their position, seeking Oli's resignation. In such a geopolitical environment, there is a popular perception in India that with China's growing political influence over the Communist Party government in Nepal, China may have at least indirectly encouraged Prime Minister Oli to take a bolder stance against India during the current crisis. Traditionally in Nepal, China has positioned itself as an external power that does not interfere or show too much interest, at least publicly, in the internal political affairs of the country, a standard diplomatic stance. However, over the past decade, mainly after the abolition of the monarchy in 2008, China began to increase its influence efforts with regard to all political parties. Before Chinese President Xi Jinping's visit to Nepal in October 2019, the Communist Party of Nepal and the Chinese Communist Party organized a symposium on Xi Jinping Thought, his political blueprint for the next 30 years, called Xi Jinping Thought on Socialism with Chinese Characteristics for a New Era. This ideology, known as Xi Jinpingism, inside China is being taught to party leaders and cadres, bureaucrats and journalists, and it has been included in school curricula too. For the last 2 years at least, there have been regular interactions between the NCP and CPC on these issues. According to political analysts, in recent months, unlike in the past, this ideology often figures prominently in the bilateral relationship between Nepal and China. As far as Nepal-China relations are concerned, the presence of ideologically like-minded political parties, that is communists at the helm of the power, have made it easier for China to penetrate its political agenda as well. In fact, Xi thought has become a de facto official doctrine for the NCP, and Xi somehow is in the process of making himself de facto leader of the NCP, like in 1960s when Chairman Mao used to be the supreme leader of some of the communist parties of Nepal and India. However, the public perception in Nepal is that China would not interfere in the internal political affairs of Nepal, but India is interested at micromanagement. India's silence is the greatest cause for concern for the future of bilateral relations and is creating natural uneasiness in Nepal. Contrary to a recent Indian media report about Nepal's unwillingness to engage in border talks, Nepal's Foreign Minister Pradeep Gyawale has said that there have been several visible attempts to jumpstart a border dialogue from the Nepali side. First, Nepal sent diplomatic notes to India seeking a peaceful solution to the border tension on November 21, 2019 and May 11, 2020. Second, Nepal's foreign ministry summoned the Indian envoy to Nepal, Vinay Mohan Quatra, to protest Indian steps regarding the Lipio Lake, Kalapani and Limpiadhura area, which has been controlled by India since 1962. However, India, after indirectly indicating its displeasure at the politically charged environment in Nepal, has largely remained silent. At a time when the Indian side was ignoring Nepal's request to have a high-level video conference meeting on the border issue, a high-ranking Indian official was in direct dialogue with Chinese side over their border tensions. This added to the already brewing anti-India sentiments in Nepal, with many Nepalis questioning why India is eager to talk borders with China but not with Nepal. Since there has not been any significant de-escalatory move from Delhi, analysts infer that Delhi does not feel comfortable to address the issue at this point or in the current context. Possibly because India has lost its trust in Prime Minister Oli. It could be due to his relations with China, his politicization of the dispute, his jibes at India's national symbols, or any other possible reason. This would mean that India may now see Prime Minister Oli as more of a problem rather than part of the solution to improve bilateral relations. Trust and direct communication is critical for India, and previous India-Nepal crises have generally flared up when Delhi registers anti-India sentiments, a politically hostile environment, or an extra-regional involvement, normally China. There is an added version too. India can no longer afford to focus on its right of first refusal, since Nepal is no longer an Indian satellite or exclusive sphere of influence, as it is often depreciatively described in Delhi. But Nepal has been embracing a policy of strategic diversification to reduce its dependence on India and enhance its non-aligned autonomy. To summarize, the status quo privileges India, which is in comfortable control of the territory. However, delaying a diplomatic discussion may cause significant damage to its interests and influence in Nepal, with the bonus of higher chances for China to get involved in. Beijing has now chosen to remain quiet, but its future calculation may change. It's high time India acknowledges that the Kalapani dispute between India and Nepal is an almost perfect mirror case of the 2017 Doklam crisis between China and Bhutan, where India had stepped up and deployed its military forces to restore the status quo ante. Though Nepal rubbishes the allegations of China's involvement, India cannot afford to underestimate the geostrategic ambitions of the dragon. And that's all for today. Thank you.